Hi, thank you for joining us. You're here with Rebekah Kennedy from Traumatika. I've given you recording
Hello,
access and
hello.
I'm recording on my end, and you have 15 minutes for your interview.
Can you give me that one more time?
Oh, sorry. You're here
Oh,
with Rebekah Kennedy from Traumatika. I've given you recording access and I am recording, and you have 15 minutes for your interview.
thanks a lot.
Hi, David.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am great. Let me go ahead and are we recording? Bam. Want to make sure. Are we recording? Hi, Katrina, can you tell if we're recording or not? You're recording on
It
your end,
doesn't
right?
show it doesn't show you recording on my end, but I can send you the recording after the interviews if you'd like.
That'll work. Okay, can we go ahead and
Okay, great.
start now?
Yes. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Rebecca, my name is Dave Canfield. I am known as the Creature Feature Preacher. I talk spirituality and horror film, big horror fan. I've
Awesome.
been following you since Two Witches.
Oh, amazing.
Um,
Amazing.
you have the most you have the most amazing presence on screen.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Thank you so much.
do you hear that a lot?
I mean, it feels very people are kind. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's very means a lot.
Well, and hopefully they would be. I mean, you're a wonderfully attractive, dynamic actress, and so I in no way would I ever want to imply otherwise. But you do have the ability to turn it on when you're in a horror film, which we just love. You know, we turn those people into icons. Have you been compared to any icons in the last little while?
I get Sissy Spacek a lot when she was younger. Carrie,
I
I
can
get
see
a lot
that.
of like, oh, if they remade Carrie, you should be in it. And I'm like, I'm unfortunately past my prime for playing high school. But if they, it's funny because somebody brought up the other day, and I would absolutely love this if anyone was listening that wants to do this, are reimagining if Carrie lived, what would that look like? And if she was older, like what would her life be like now? And I was like, I absolutely love that. I don't know if that would ever be a thing, but I think that would be so cool and I would be in.
Oh gosh, that's a longer conversation I'd love to have. I noticed with this film, you know, the tagline, and sometimes horror films become so famous for their taglines in space, no one can hear you scream, it's only a movie, it's only a movie. And you guys
Yeah.
went with uh this is not a horror film that you watch, it's a horror film that you survive.
Mhm. Yeah.
What drew you to the material of this level of intensity?
So, like you said, I worked with Pierre and Max on Two Witches, and so I knew when I got the script that I was going to be in for something that was a crazy ride. And like you said, I was right. But what drew me to it specifically was Abigail. I thought she was such an interesting character. She starts out not to spoil too much, but as, very much the villain, as doing horrible things. And then throughout the movie, you find out why she's doing what she's doing. And maybe at the end of the film, you actually feel some sympathy for her because she's what she's gone through in order to try to protect her family. And she's just literally going through hell until she can't take it anymore. And I thought that was just going to be a really beautiful challenge. And I was excited to be able to explore her and bring her to life.
That's something I don't think that people understand about acting in
Mm,
general is that actors are looking at those characters as if they're real people,
yeah.
and they're asking questions about, well, why did they wind up where they are? Because nobody is the bad guy in their own story
No.
exactly.
No, everyone's the hero. And she's doing what is necessary in order to survive, in order to protect her sister. I mean, I can only imagine what I'd be willing to do if it was my family, especially a child. Alice was like what 7 or 8 at the time, and she's innocent. And if I can do anything to protect her, I will because she means the most. And I felt like Abigail had so many layers and complexities to her, and she wasn't just one thing that really excited me to be able to explore that.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because ever since Guillermo del Toro really leapt onto the scene, we've kind of been redefining what monsters are. And
Mm,
monsters are often very wounded, complex characters, and they aren't just what you see when you look at them. And we're living at a time, and in our country here in America, where um, it's very, very tempting to just see monsters in one another and not
Mm,
see the trauma and not see the heartache and the desperation.
right.
Did you see that? Did you see this film or the script speaking to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it explores, like you said, like childhood trauma, it explores trauma in general and how that is can be passed on generation to generation and what that looks like. And and obviously we're doing it in a very horrific under a horrific lens, but maybe a topic that wouldn't be able to be explored in any other genre in the way that we're telling it. And like you said, these are real people. People do, maybe not experience to the lengths of like being possessed, but there are people that, out there that can relate to like what she's going through with her dad, with her when she gets pregnant. Like there's people that know that. And I wanted to also, I was aware that this is things that do happen and have happened to people, and it's horrific. And I wanted to be respectful to that as well in telling her story. And not just it's yes, it's a fun ride because it's a horror film. So yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
crazy things that happen, and it's fun in that, but it's also underneath telling a really kind of important story as well.
Do you think that, in that sense, films like this are maybe they almost fall into the category of protest because they're shining light on things that people would rather not have seen? And I'm thinking especially in terms of the human spirit
Yeah.
of our need to know that there's hope and redemption in the world.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It would be definitely easier to kind of sweep under the rug and not have these conversations. And I think it opens up conversations to be had, whether, you've experienced it or know someone that has. It's shining a light kind of directly on it and what and how. One thing I loved especially was her look, the look that we all created. Like KO did our makeup and she's incredible. And it was one thing that Pierre and I, wanted was trauma lives in the body. Trauma is obviously an internal thing, but what would that look like if trauma started to be external and started to show up in places? And that's kind of where her look started was that idea of like not just internally she's struggling, but like it's kind of almost eating her from the inside out, and there's nothing she can do. And what that would look like if it was external. So that was a really I loved how they created her look as well.
Yeah, I love your look in this film. I think it could be a great Halloween mask. It's a really, really great look. And especially when she looks down when they're sitting on the couch. Oh my God. It's just like that is just almost too much. I watched this alone in my bedroom on my computer at night, so the screen's right there.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was
Wow.
just this is something else. And I
If
love
anybody
horror
was
movies.
walking around with my face for Halloween, that would be very cool.
It's funny, when we talk about ideas of good and evil, we talk about often in terms in the spiritual community of cooperating. We either cooperate with good or we cooperate with evil. And sometimes those can look like the same things.
Mm,
Sometimes
yeah.
what you think somebody else is doing for evil, they're actually doing because they are trying to protect someone else, or there is a good impulse there. Do you want to talk to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be, easy for someone like Abigail or in general to, like you said, reject something if it's just you. If it's like okay, I'm gonna die if I don't do this. Okay, great. Like I'll just die then it's fine. But if when you
Yeah.
bring in somebody else like her younger sister Alice, who is very small and innocent and hasn't doesn't deserve, I mean, no one deserves, but especially a child, then that changes things. And when he uses her as the bait, then Abigail has no choice because she can't let what happened to her happen to her sister. So she really has no choice but to unfortunately do the things he is asking, no matter how horrific they are. Um, it's like the choice has been taken off the table, and no one, and she says like no one is going to believe me because who would? I mean, it's so outrageous that in this day and age, if somebody was doing something like that and claimed possession, you would just put them in prison, you know like you wouldn't even consider possession
Yeah.
being real. So I love the choice that the fact that they give her that, and that is, it's not, she's not just doing things because she wants to be doing it, or it's not even to protect herself, it's to protect her family. And as Rebecca, I can only imagine the lengths I would go to protect my family if it was my husband or parents or sister or someone I deeply, deeply loved. What would I be willing to do? And that's a kind of a scary question to even ask, because I don't know, would I be willing to do the same things? Maybe,
None of us do.
Yeah.
I know. And, the thing about cycles of abuse and violence and trauma is sooner or later somebody does have to make the decision to break them, because they do seem like they just go on forever and they just ruin whole families. How many of us have known a family where that was the case, where drug addiction or child abuse or whatever just continued through generation after generation in that
Right.
specific family group? And that speaks to eternality. It speaks to the idea that there is something more to the world than what our five senses, can account for.
Right.
And that we're in an interactive we're in an interactive plane with it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I love what you just said. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard because I think these days, the language of religion, for instance, has been co-opted by people
Mm,
who, for years and years, have demonized horror films, and they have demonized teen culture and pop culture, and now they're turning around and they're turning words like empathy into dirty words, and they're turning, things like this, and it's like we all have to live in the world that they're creating,
mm,
but we can still make choices about who we choose to be in that world.
right.
Um, how much how much agency do you think that Abigail is working with in this film, especially in light of this influence of this entity that is attacking them?
I think very little. I mean, I think when she finds out she's pregnant, she tries to do the thing that she thinks that she can and to try to take care of it. And then that doesn't work, right? Because now he's angry. And so now it's like, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, this, what you happen to you will be happening to her. And she's even like, Alice is even younger. I mean, like significantly younger than me. So I feel like within that, you have no choice, or at least that's what she thinks. It's like, it's not
Yeah.
whether or not she has a choice in it. It's like she has no choice. And then also there's part of her that I think during moments of which I think is revealed like in the bathtub scene, where she doesn't even quite remember what she did. So it's like the demon kind of takes over and she kind of wakes up to see that what she's done to this boy, and she can't even believe it because she wasn't even kind of conscious during it, which I think is even more horrific for you if you wake up and you've seen what you've done, but you don't even remember doing it, but you know it was you.
Well,
Um,
this is why we get so angry at these police calls where they're, show up and some kid with who's on the spectrum or having a mental health episode ends up getting shot or killed, or some adult winds up getting shot or killed because they didn't know what they were doing. They were involved in a situation. And I think it's funny. I think of your character, and I think again, you're holding the mirror up to someone, and it's tempting to say, well, this person had choices. And I think that that's a big part, for instance, of this really awful sort of like idea that's sort of been sweeping our country for years and years, that you should pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But often, not only do people not have bootstraps, but they don't have the psychological support. They
yeah,
don't have any of the things because of the abuse, because of this oppression and the poverty and whatever else has put them in that position.
right.
Um, do you feel like, is anybody else asking you questions like this or bringing stuff like this up in the interview?
Not really. You're the first. So this is
No.
an interesting conversation to have, not we haven't really dove into like the spiritual side of things and like what that looks like for this film in particular. So it's an interesting conversation.
And yet we so need these stories. We
Mhm.
so need to look into the mirror, and we so need to ask what it's like to be in the other person's shoes. Um, which is why I think someone against so many monsters, so we call them monsters, but part of the definition of a monster is being an outsider, being cast out. And
Right.
and it even
And
seems
when you
like with
understand,
Strata. Go ahead.
no, I just, that was one thing reason I wanted to play her because if she had just been the villain the whole time, it wouldn't have been as interesting. But then when you learn why she's doing it, then you start to have, at least for me, I hope the audience has some sympathy and is like then is confused how to feel about her because she's not all one thing. She's not just a monster. Um, there's a reason why she's doing what she's doing. And in her mind, like you said, no one's, we're all own heroes. So in her mind, she's doing like what she has to is necessary. It's like almost a primal thing. Like she doesn't have any, there is no question. It's good or bad. That's, she has to, it's no choice. So it's an interesting complexity. And that's one reason I wanted to play her because it was just like, wow, these are questions that a lot of films don't ask, you know?
I'm really curious. What are you going to be doing next?
Well, I just wrapped a film called Swipe that I am acting in, but also produced. So it's my first feature that I'm producing on, and it's got Lane Hendricks from The Parent Trap and Hana May Lee from Pitch Perfect, and Sean Whalen, who's also in Traumatika.
Oh, Sean Whalen. I love Sean.
Yeah, Sean's amazing, and I'm really excited for people to see that. It's a very different character. I'm not the villain in this one, so.
Does it ever get tiring being asked to play villains, or does it just not happen that much?
It doesn't get tiring because everyone is different. No villain is the same. Everyone has their own story. Same with Masha. She had her reasons for doing it, and I don't feel like any two people are the same. So even if they can be seen as the villain, they have their own reason why they're doing it and their own story and journey. So it doesn't get old to me.
Yeah, when you look out, it's funny when you look out into the world and you're on the bus or in the coffee shop and you see the loner, you see the person who's maybe not taking their meds that day or is just, obviously in crisis and looks a little different. And you start to use labels like creepy and weird, and you start to separate yourself off. Film is all about empathy. So hopefully, whether it's horror films like Traumatika or just film in general, is helping us to be more empathetic with one another and really think about the other person as a person and not
Right.
as a stereotype.
Right. Because yeah, exactly. It's there. Everyone has more than what meets the eye to them. And her story is very tragic as well. Of course, it's a horror film, so there's a lot of a fun, quote unquote, fun ride to it, but it also underneath, kind of like you said, exposes and puts a lens on what is happening with abuse and trauma and um, in a way that we might not be able to explore in any other genre.
Rebecca, I've wanted to talk to you ever since I saw you in Two Witches, and
Oh,
I hope that Traumatika launches you out into horror fandom because horror fans are just the greatest people in the world, and they really love the people who make stuff for them. So I hope you get some of that love, and good luck with this new movie, Swipe,
thank you
and
so much.
hopefully we'll talk again soon, I hope.
Yes, I would absolutely love that. Thank you so much, David, for having me and watching the film and supporting it. It means a lot. And the
Sounds
fans,
good.
I want to mention horror fans are incredible. They're amazing. I'm a huge horror fan myself, so the fans in general for horror are just incredible.
We're a warm and fuzzy bunch for sure in the middle of everything else. So, well, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.